2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yay! So we are live, Franklin. I tagged
Yeah,
your page. So
yeah.
I tagged your page. So you can, are you logged into Facebook?
No, no, I'm not logged in on this here. I'm logged in at
Maybe I
work, but
should
not here.
just, okay, so maybe I should just drop this link on your page. I don't know if
Mm.
it will go directly. Okay, so yes, this is probably on your page.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, so this is on your page. So anyway, thanks
Fantastic.
Franklin. Yeah, thanks
No worries.
Franklin for doing this.
My pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure too. But I'm really pleased with the fact that I'm chatting with someone in the future. So
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, it's
yeah,
really
right.
literally funny. It's like when you're
Uh,
talking to someone back home and
mhm.
you talk to them and they say to you, "Good morning." You're like, "No, it's evening here," and we're
Yes.
one day ahead of you. And
Yeah.
it's bizarre. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Uh,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Like we were
But
saying,
I've
it's
got some good
Monday.
news for you. There
Okay.
is not nothing is different here in the future. It's the same.
Is the
So you
same?
don't have to
Okay.
worry. It's the same.
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it's Monday 8:37 here.
Yeah.
And what time have you got?
It's Tuesday 10:37 a.m. Yeah.
Mashallah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it
So
is. It's
anyway,
wow.
thanks for doing this. As we start, can you please tell us a bit about yourself? So this listening, I will do no justice by trying to introduce you.
All
So
right.
this.
So my Franklin Ngwa, and I was born in
Mhm,
Cameroon.
mhm,
Um, I moved to Melbourne 16 years ago. Last week, like I was telling you before, last week
mhm.
made it 16 years that I'm here. And
Wow.
I finished high school here, went
Mhm,
to uni back in Cameroon. I was actually the
mhm.
first badge of. Have you heard of CITEC in Yaoundé?
No, Sitek. No, I
Yeah,
haven't heard of Sitek.
yeah. So CITEC was a school that was that started by it's a university now. It started by this guy that he decided he went overseas and then came back
Mm-hmm.
to open his IT school.
Mm-hmm.
So I did database management there, and then when I finished,
Mm-hmm.
I it like it wasn't my thing, and
Yeah, right. I
I
see.
I, I worked, and then it was just I'm not a person that can sit on a desk job,
Mm-hmm.
and but I was doing that. So one day I booked my ticket back to Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had like $50, so US dollars would be about say $25,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got on a plane, and that was it, and I came back here. So
Yeah, like bye bye, cover.
that was it. I was like bye bye, and that's it. So when I
uh,
came here, I played soccer. I played
mm,
soccer for a while, and then just kept playing. And then in 2004, I decided, listen, I don't have that Samuel Eto'o money, but
yeah.
so I got to get myself a formal education. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided to do sports therapy. So I studied sports therapy, and then now I started my own business, and I've been working in the industry for 5 years. So that's
Oh,
a
wow.
kind of like a big picture of me.
Okay. Oh well,
Yeah.
thanks for giving us that rundown. There's a lot that we can chat about,
Yeah,
and
man.
yeah, but I can already feel your spirit. There's this dynamic spirit in you,
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
man.
I don't know if you're trying to, or let me know if you're trying. You actually epitomize the middle name of your company. This Be
Yeah,
Dynamic Sports. Yeah. And
that's it.
is it something that you had always liked, like while growing up, or was it like a realization at the later stage that you should like do the sports thing?
Like I think I knew it, but then I also was kind of restricted in wherever I was. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you've heard of Secret. in Cameroon.
Yes, which one? The one in
Secret
Bamenda?
Mancon. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
So I went to Secret for 4 years,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
and so when I was there, I did everything. I was an altar boy in church, and I was the whole thing. So I went through the whole scoop. I did everything in Secret. I played almost
Uh-huh.
every sport, but
Mm-hmm.
football was my favorite, or soccer, like we call it here.
Yeah, right.
And I kind of realized that, like, when I read this thing one day. I read this. It wasn't a meme yet, but it was a picture that my dad had shown me and given it to me when I
Mm-hmm.
was about 12 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a monkey, there was an elephant, and there was a fish, and they were sitting in the classroom. And they gave a test on who can climb a tree. And my
Mm-hmm.
dad asked me this, like, who do you think is going to be able to climb this tree? Who's going to be past this test? And I
Mm-hmm.
looked at it. I thought it was a trick question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are you trying to trick me, Dad? He's like, no, but look at the picture, and then tell me.
Uh-huh.
So I think I answered wrongly because I was trying to use some crazy
Overseas.
thinking. Yeah,
Overseas.
oversense. Like,
Uh,
exactly. I was trying to use oversense and said, look, I think the elephant is going to climb it because the elephant is already taller. My dad is like, no, it's the monkey. Like, you're
uh-huh.
overthinking it. And from then, I think that really opened up my eye, and I started
Uh-huh.
believing that, look, I can be really great at something, but to be great at something, you got to be good at a few different things. Like, you got to have discipline, you got to
Yeah.
have the ability to learn and
Mm-hmm.
grow from there. So I think
Mm-hmm.
from then on, I started realizing that I never knew how to do it, or I never had the
Yeah.
courage to really
Mm-hmm.
express that in me. Till
Yeah.
the day all of this started, there's 2 points. There's one when I booked that plane ticket and I had
Mm-hmm.
$50 left with me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna go hustle. I'm gonna go hustle, and then that was it. And then
Mm-hmm.
the second thing was, so in 2009, I had a very big car accident,
Oh, sorry
and
about that.
I
Mm-hmm.
I was in a wheelchair for 18 months.
Man.
So while I was in
Mm-hmm.
rehab, um,
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting down. We were going every day for physical therapy. So when we're doing physical therapy, I was always feeling sorry for myself. Like, why is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
I should have been a soccer player by now, but then I'm in the wheelchair and all that stuff. So there was one girl that she came in one day, and I asked her, so we had group session every day. People were telling their stories.
Yeah.
So this girl stood up to tell her story and tell how she got her accident. So she went to visit her mom, and they were walking, and the car ran her over and dragged her for about 1 kilometer underneath. But
Yeah.
she had the best attitude. Like, she was very positive and always talking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So from then on, I just decided, listen, I'm not gonna be sitting in this wheelchair. I made myself little goals, set myself targets, and
Mm-hmm.
decided to go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being in those situations kind of awoken that dynamic spirit in me. And
Mm-hmm.
from then on, I've just been growing from there and moving on.
So that makes me wonder then, is it that the mind has this central role in building the body or in the physical world?
I think I think there is a sweet spot, yeah. There's a
Mm-hmm.
sweet spot which I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I don't think one
Okay.
commands the other, but they all need
Mm-hmm.
each other. Like, one cannot function without the other. But so you kind of have to take care of those three things. Like, when people talk about health, those three big major things. There is mental health, there is physical health, and then I'll say nutrition plays a big part as well. So those three different components, they all work together, and there is a sweet spot that when you
Mm-hmm.
hit, you
Yeah.
will, yeah, you will be good.
Oh wow, I see. And
Yeah.
man, your story keeps pumping me up. And
Good.
yeah, and when you had that $50, man, and going and thinking of starting, was there any point where you felt like you're making a mistake? Like, what have I done? And then maybe you encourage yourself more, or like, how was the actual experience of you?
So yeah,
Hmm.
one major thing that made me actually pinpoint what exactly it is I wanted to
Hmm.
do was
Hmm.
that I remember when I was doing my rehab,
Hmm.
I started reading books. I started reading physical therapy books on how to get
Hmm.
better and things like that. So while I was reading it, I was doing my own rehab program at home. When I came back home from the rehab
Okay.
center.
Hmm.
So and then I was seeing a physio. I was seeing a physio twice a week. So there was this
Hmm.
one question that I always ask my physio: when do you think I'm going to be able to run? And then the physio was like, look, don't rush about that, blah, blah, blah. You're going to run in this long. I was already
Uh-huh.
running. I was
Yeah.
already running, but he had no
Uh,
idea that I was running. So I was like,
oh,
it
I
doesn't
see.
even
I
make
see.
sense.
I see. You're right.
It doesn't make sense. I've read these books. I don't have that formal education. I don't have the technical names. I don't have all these things this guy's talking about. And I'm already running. And this guy cannot even see that I'm running. Like, how is that even possible? So
Yeah. I
that
see what you mean.
motivated me. I said, look, I think there are many people in my situation, especially if you don't have the money. Like I was lucky that my injury was a car accident. So
Yeah.
in Melbourne or in Victoria, in the state I am in Australia, when you pay your insurance for your car, part of that, your registration, part of that
Hmm.
covers any road accident that happens in the state. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So there is an
I see.
insurance that if you have an accident on the road. So I was quite lucky that I didn't have to worry
Uh huh.
about money.
Yeah.
And
I see.
when you don't have to worry about that, that is a very big advantage to the point that you can use it. So
Yeah.
fortunately, all I had to do was just get better, and that was what I was doing. So that motivated me in picking what I was going to do, and I picked sports therapy. So from then on, it was just easy to just keep going. And following on in school was very easy.
Yeah. It reminds me of what Richard Bona once said. Like, he's someone that mastered the bass guitar,
Yep.
and so you meet these people that are experts in music, and they would spin off a word, some of these music words, treble clef and things
Yeah.
like that. He says that, man, whatever it is that you want me to play, I'll play it, but those words like, I may not know that that's the name, but
That's the name. Yeah.
yeah, I can find my way around the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, so that came to mind when you explained how that guy, those words you wouldn't like
Yeah.
recognize them, but you know what it is. You can do
I
what
know
it
what
is
it
that is
is. Yeah.
expected. Yeah. Hmm.
So after realizing it, I was like, listen, there is a duty of care that, like, when you,
Hmm.
for example, if you're sick, you go to the doctor. The doctor, like, you have trust, 100% trust that that
Hmm.
doctor is gonna do your best and take care of you.
Hmm.
And for
Yeah.
me, that made me realize like that there is a different, like, you can have the knowledge, but at the same time as well, these people are running a business.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
they have to kind of keep you in the bed. They have to make you keep coming
Oh,
back
yeah.
and
I
back
see. I
and back.
see. Did they mean it,
So
or is it incidental?
I think they mean it. Like, to be honest, there is so many things. There is
Yeah.
so many things that you can do without going to see a physio. But then at the end of the day, they've got to pay bills. Like, they've got to do these things. Like, I look at it that way, yeah. But I decided to get into the industry with a complete different model, and not to be honest, I want people to go out and not come back
Okay.
for the same thing over and over and over. You can't be seeing me for 6 months for an injury that we've been treating for 6 months. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. I see. I see.
It's
I
like,
see.
imagine if you go to the doctor, you have a headache, and the doctor
Hmm.
tells you, come back on Saturday. Next week, come back
Yeah.
again, come back again. It's like, my guy, I've had this headache for 6 months.
Yeah.
Let's do something. But
Yeah.
so it it's a model that physio goes by, or most therapists pretty much will kind of make you want to come back. So you have to come back so that they can make more money.
Okay. So why you tell us about the model? Please tell us about the model. I'll just show my screen to your
Yeah.
website.
Yes. Correct.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I
So
see this is your website.
yeah.
Uh, oh yeah, a holistic approach. So do you
Correct.
do yoga and these Eastern forms of knowing the body, connecting with the body, growing with yourself, mind,
So
consciousness,
if
that kind of
you
thing?
yes, yes. But then I don't call it yoga. I don't call it any name
Okay.
because say for example, if you look at when you see dry needling on my page, so in the
Where here?
Eastern medicine, so go down, yeah, go
Here?
scroll down. You're
Uh-huh.
going and you're going to see you see
Yes,
dry
yes,
needling.
this one. Yes,
Yeah, so in the East or Chinese medicine, who calls it acupuncture.
yes.
But then
Mm-hmm.
in the West call it dry needling, and the only difference is because of the way they've studied it in the West, and then they use science. But then in the East, they don't really use science. So that's the only difference. And they use the same needles, they use the same techniques and all that. So if you go do acupuncture, the practitioner will talk about energy flow, and
Yeah,
that whenever they use a needle in a certain area, they're releasing an energy blockage or something like that.
yeah,
But
right.
then when you come, if you do dry needling with a Western practitioner or someone that has studied Western medicine, they will
Yeah,
mention about that needle releasing trigger points or energy block, which is the same thing. They just use
yeah,
different
yeah, right.
languages. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I
I see.
use all these different modalities. So if you come, for example, if you come to me and say you have an injury, yeah,
Yeah,
um, I'll assess you and then determine which of those modalities is going to be best for you. And then we tackle
okay,
the problem with one of those modalities.
okay. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So those are all the
Yeah,
service I offer.
yeah, rehabilitation. And let me see. Rehabilitation. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow, man! More courage to you, mashallah. This is amazing.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
what was the process of starting this business? Because now that I'm seeing this, all the modalities that you offer,
Yeah.
and the deepness into their implementations that you have to go to heal someone. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not just about the sports itself. There's the human body, there's the spiritual aspect, there's the mind aspect,
Correct.
there's the business aspect. How do you sew together all of these things into one?
Um, well, I think the first thing I realized that I have to do is
Mhm.
actually just learn a lot about it. And the best way to have learned about it was I did a course, and
Uh-huh.
once I finish, to practice,
Uh-huh.
you kind of need an insurance and
Yeah.
you need to be part of like a medical association or any type of association. So once you get registered with that association and get insurance, then you can now start legally trading. And
Okay.
so business wise, that is pretty much the legal side of things, what you had to do
Uh-huh.
to to start your own day. Yeah. But well, there was one thing I was gonna say that I remember. So we had this one of my best teachers at uni told gave us this very good story one day, and he was trying to teach us how saying, look, when you're with someone, you need to
Mm,
almost forget about everything you've learned and then just look and talk to them.
yeah.
So he
Mm-hmm.
told us the story how he was treating a baker that had cut off his finger one day,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
this guy likes training really early in the morning. So he trained
Uh-huh.
every day for 2 years, and then got nothing. Like nothing was improving. So one day he just changed the time that they had to train, and they started training at 3 p.m. And everything he could not do in 2 years, he did that in less than an hour.
Really?
And he asked the guys like, what is the difference? He goes, because every morning when I come here, I can smell bread, and it reminds me of when I cut my finger because
Ah.
he's a baker. So that simple change of just that time, and you remove the experience from there, and he
Yeah.
feels relaxed, he feels like
Mm-hmm.
really calm, and that
Mm-hmm.
changes everything. So for me, that is a very, very big approach. I think a lot of the times when we interact with people, we can kind of forget that, hey, this is another human being. When we start thinking tactically, like, okay, how am I going
Right.
to pitch this? How am I going to do this? But for me, that is one of the most important things. Like at the beginning, we're all human beings and we all have a huge history, which sometimes you can even be training someone and they
Uh-huh.
like you're wearing Barcelona shirt, for example. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan. I'm not a fan though. I was looking for something to put on, and then I
Yeah.
saw this.
Yeah. So if
Yeah,
I'm
right.
a Real Madrid fan, if I'm a hardcore Real Madrid fan, and I see you with that, I
Yeah,
already hate you.
yeah,
You
but
know,
I'm not even
it's
a
a,
fan.
yeah, I know, and exactly. So
Yeah,
I
right.
already have
I
this
see.
I'm already judging you, and
You're
you don't
right.
even care. You're not even a fan. You're just wearing the
You're
top
right.
because you like it.
Yes,
So
right.
all of
Uh-huh.
these interactions, these invisible
Mm-hmm.
interactions that we're having, it plays a
Mm-hmm.
huge role in the way someone heals, and
Yeah, right.
that aspect is can be a lot of the time neglected and
Uh-huh.
not really paid attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of treatment, that is one thing that I applied, and that was the big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And applying that has made a huge difference in the way I treat.
And also, how about the business aspect? The aspect of the logistics, following up with the government to catch, be it amenities that they're offering for those. I would like to know your evolution as a business person too, in terms of decision making,
Mhm.
packages, and you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like setting up a
yeah.
business. Yeah.
So one thing I realized is like we have an advantage, or when I say we, is we,
Mm-hmm.
I'll use the case because I was born in Cameroon, so I'm going to use Cameroon. We as
Mm-hmm.
Cameroonians, we might have a disadvantage when we come here because we don't have that
Yeah.
starting point. There is so many things that we don't know, so many little
Yeah.
good things we don't know. So when I was trying to do that, I realized like one day one of my mates told me this, and he's a very successful business guy. He's a construction. He owns a construction management business, and he goes to me, why are you trying to do this when you're not really good at it? You're wasting 10 hours to do these things you're not really good at when you know this one person where you can go pay him money that you earn in 2 hours and you save yourself 8 hours. Pay this person 2 hours, let him do that thing for you when he's really good at it. And if he wants more money, he's going to do a very, very good job. And you have 8 more hours. So I decided the first thing was to get myself an accountant that knows a lot how to save you different things, get these little perks when you have a small business. So
Yeah.
I got myself an accountant, and
Mm-hmm.
any questions I have when in terms of like any financial questions I have, really, they take care of
Yeah.
it. I don't have to really worry about that stuff and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend, Dane Burgess, that helped me set up my website, and he's going to be taking care of my marketing starting now and things like that. So I was even teaming up with Perez, where I'm in the middle of making up an app,
Okay.
and Perez is going to be the guy that's going to be setting that up. So I think
Yeah, in good
one,
hands.
yeah, that'd be good
Yeah.
hands. So
Mm-hmm.
that was in terms of business wise,
Mm-hmm.
associating myself with these different people in different industry that
Yeah.
together. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah. Take your time. Take your time. Yeah, so for those just joining, this is Franklin Ngwa. He's from Cameroon. He's a sports therapist. He has his own business that does sports therapy and heals people. So I think in modern terms, he'd be like a doctor of the body, like how people achieve their own perfection in terms of like mental, physical, because like you said, those are one. There's no separation between the mental and the physical. So he is in the field of making us achieve our own perfection. And here is the site. Oh, you're back.
I'm
So
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, please go on. So what I
Yeah.
picked up from what you were saying is
Yeah.
mostly about delegation. And I've been hearing that word come up like a lot these days. Like when it comes to
Yeah,
business, a lot of people talking about delegation, delegation, delegation.
yeah. I think yeah, it's a very important thing because at the end of the
Hmm.
day, the
Hmm.
your reason for starting your business or my reason for starting my business is to bring that idea that I have.
Yeah.
And there is only 24 hours during the day. There is impossible for you to do everything you have to do. So I think in those 24 hours, you kind of have to allocate that time so that you
Yeah.
can be in one place, in two places
Hmm.
at the same time.
Hmm.
So um, that is important to finding those people that kind of have that same idea, but in their own field, like an
Yeah.
accountant that is trying to do his own thing in accounting. You can team up with them. You know that this person is trying to really work hard to progress, and finding those people that are in different industry that they're going to help you grow. It's extremely important. That saves time, that saves you from making too many mistakes, and at the end of the day, you're really improving at a good pace without,
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh wow, I see. Thanks for that.
Mm,
And also you as a doctor, when we're growing up, he's the doctor of like spots the body. When we're growing
mm.
up, we hear that. By the way, thanks. You have told two stories already. One with the busher, and then one with the monkey going up the tree.
Yeah,
So, so when we're growing up, we hear stories of doctors that treat patients are very good at it, but they neglect their own bodies. So
yeah,
they help. Yeah. So how do you create that balance between getting absorbed in the business and then taking care of your own self?
and that's a catch 22. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really lucky that I
Mm-hmm.
already like sports. I already like fitness and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
also, a lot of the times, my
Yeah.
and there are a lot of times many other things can happen that can make me
Mm-hmm.
for say just take a break from it and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
personally, in the last 2 years I started running,
Mm-hmm.
and I run ultra distances. So I run for 4 days, different competitions that goes on for 4 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah,
uh,
sometimes I run like 100 Ks in one day.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those are competitions that take a lot of effort, a lot of training, and very massive amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's kind of an integration into my work, and it makes it very, very easy for me to kind of do take care of my body and take care of other people's body. And then through this, I find many issues that people may have when they run. Like I never knew, for example, before started running, that there is like shoes that you run with makes a whole difference.
Oh yeah,
Oh
running
yeah, the
shoes.
shoe, the running shoe
Uh-huh.
you're running, the surface you're running,
Mm-hmm.
um, just the food you eat before and after, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So all of those things they make a difference. But then I did not really know that until I did it.
Yeah, right.
So and then so
Mm-hmm.
doing that and then using the knowledge that I have, when someone
Mm-hmm.
comes to me that they have an injury, this injury, it's easier for me to treat it, or it's almost like I've already seen it,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
right. I
just I
see.
just do
Deja
yeah,
vu.
and I just deal with it. Yeah.
Deja
So
vu.
for me, it's just that has been a very good transition. Doing these long events, putting my body through some very very tough things, and just giving me an edge onto how to treat and see other people. Yeah,
Oh, wow, I see. Um, so one in my journey, I remember when I was in college, my I stopped coffee sometime because I
yeah,
started exercising in the morning. So I'll wake
great.
up about 5:45, and then I go to the gym. I was living by the gym. I did rope jumping, so I would jump rope till very low, jump rope, rest, do press ups, jump, just like that till about 6:15, sometimes 6:30, when I just want to get the best out of it. Like when,
Yeah,
if I say let me jump 100 without hitting the rope, I do that. It's so victorious that I want to do it again. Sometimes I'll
yeah,
stretch it to 6:30, and I noticed I could go through my day without coffee or many of the stimulants that I needed, and my mind was very clear, and I
yep.
used to do that. Yeah, but after a while, I couldn't. My body will want, my mind will want to go and jump more, but my body, my knees will hurt, my legs
Mm.
will hurt. So for rope jumping, is there also like some kind of shoes, surface? Like what is that, or was it just me
I
that?
think
Yeah.
I think more likely surface.
Okay.
But again, but then you've got to kind of, that is me just generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
that's fine. Yeah, I
if
can do. I can absorb some knowledge from that. Hmm.
yeah, so if let me say your body is not ready to jump on concrete, then your body is gonna hurt.
Okay.
But if your body is conditioned to jump on concrete, then your body's not gonna hurt. So it comes back to your
Oh.
body. Most of the
Hmm.
time, it's about how we condition ourselves. Is
Okay.
Most of the time you see people just waking up one day and then going for a run, and then
Yeah.
they keep just going for a run without conditioning themselves, and
Yeah.
then they have all these injuries, and then they say, "Oh, running is
Oh.
bad for you." It's like, no,
Hmm.
running is not bad for you. You just haven't conditioned yourself to running.
Oh, I see. I see.
You haven't taken the prerequisites of running to go run. You just got up and went run. When you start your
Okay.
car, you have to put in the key and turn it in the ignition. Your
Yeah.
car, and then when you want to come to a stop, you have to slowly apply the brakes to stop. You don't just The car doesn't just stop immediately. Yeah.
You're right.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's all these steps to condition your body. Like, say for example, boxing. Boxing is the best. Every sport, they before a fight, they take 12 weeks to train for that fight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In that 12 weeks, they get the body ready so that on that day they're ready. They don't just say,
Yeah.
okay, we'll fight tomorrow, we'll fight on Monday, we'll fight Thursday. So I
Yeah.
think as an amateur or someone that doesn't do a professional sport, it's important to condition yourself for anything you're going to do. That means taking time, little steps, having a good program, drinking water, sleeping, having the good nutrition, eating enough protein, eating enough vegetables, having nutrients into your body.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So having all those things, if let me say, you could, because you mentioned after a while your body could not keep up, you had knee
Oh
pain.
yes, right. But the mind enjoyed it. The
Yeah,
mind wanted to
that's it.
go, but
You
the
wanted to
body
go.
could not. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the type of pain you're having can also tell you what is
Mm-hmm.
happening. Like
Okay.
why is the thing? But when you say you were not like you didn't have like you didn't have a car accident or you didn't get tackled, so it tells me that your injury is just it's a conditioning thing.
Oh, I see.
So
I see.
if you condition and strengthen those aspects around your knee, then your knee will
Mm-hmm.
be fine to carry on. Yeah.
What is like the most general or most applicable or expected conditioning for the average person?
I think the average person needs, in terms of physical training,
Yeah.
the average person should run at least, say 5Ks a week. That's
Okay.
enough. 5Ks
Mm-hmm.
a week, it's reasonable. But
Mm-hmm.
then strength exercises are very important.
Okay.
Um, the older we get, the more fatigue, so to speak, our muscles become. We wear and tear. We use our body
Yeah.
in so many ways that
Mm-hmm.
obviously at some point we get tired. We start having, as males, less testosterone, and we just become weaker the older we get.
You're right.
So, and we have to do strength exercises to keep us
Mm-hmm.
vital and keep those muscles strong, to be
Mm-hmm.
able to handle that age. Yeah,
Wow.
because I think
You
it's a
know,
vital thing. Like, yeah,
Yeah, you know, when I hear strength exercises, I have no idea what that is. Like I'm here
Yeah,
thinking, oh, like the push-ups.
uh,
Um,
exactly. So
okay.
again, but I think weightlifting is
Mm-hmm.
very important. And
Mm-hmm.
and one of the reasons is because people
Mm-hmm.
they get way too fancy. Like you see some guy on Instagram or girl on Instagram that has a six pack and doing all this stuff, and then you look at it,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh my god, I can't do that. That's not what you're meant to do.
Yes,
That's not
right.
for you. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right. That's it.
what I usually tell people is get yourself a personal trainer and
Mm-hmm.
tell them your needs, and from then on they
Okay.
can break it down for you. But
Mm-hmm.
every exercise, there's two main exercises I reckon everyone should be doing: deadlifts
Mm-hmm.
and squats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So deadlifts is like predominantly like in the industry, you call it a pull
Mm-hmm.
exercise, right?
Okay.
And pull exercise strengthens the back of your body.
Okay.
So, for example, when you're older, you see how people are hunchback and stuff like that, yeah?
Yeah,
Or
right.
most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, people complain about back pain and all these pains in the back of their body.
Mm-hmm.
But those are deadlift is a very good example of an exercise that can strengthen your back, keep those muscles
Uh-huh.
really strong, and things like that.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yeah, I
squats
see.
predominantly will strengthen the front part of your body. So those
Mm-hmm.
two exercises are two exercises that I believe
Oh,
everyone should be
wow.
doing in the gym. And
Mm-hmm.
that's literally it. And if you like to do bicep curls, go do your bicep curls. It's all right.
Yeah,
But
I see.
the two
Uh,
best exercises I think everyone should be doing are squats and deadlifts.
yeah. Oh, wow, man. Like, I'm taking notes and I feel like I'll fill my book very soon. And
Go for it,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So then you know that abroad, like a lot of people, like I have my godfather, he broke his leg in a
Yes.
car accident, and he has surgery, multiple surgeries, and there's another one going on, and it's
Mhm.
already affecting the way he's walking.
Yeah,
And is that something that someone can really recover from and go back to maybe how you were originally?
absolutely. I've had seven surgeries.
Seven
Um,
surgeries.
yeah, and right now I have a titanium rod in my femur.
FEMA, what is that?
So so my femur
FEMA.
is the
Mhm.
thigh bone, the bone in
Okay,
your
okay,
thigh.
okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. So when I had the car accident, I fractured that into
Mhm.
two,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
in between it, they inserted a titanium rod to hold the bone together for it to heal.
Oh, wow.
I have about 12 pins in my knee and ankle.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
most recent surgery was 2 years ago, where I fractured my ankle and fractured my fibula.
Mhm.
Your
Yeah.
fibula is the bone next to the shin bone.
Mhm. Oh,
So I
wow.
fractured that. Yeah. So
Fibula.
I have
Shinbone. This one.
yeah.
Yeah.
That big shin
Mhm.
bone. There is a little bone next to the shin bone. That's your
Yes.
fibula. Yeah.
Oh.
So I fractured that into two. Um, so to get back to your question, you
Mhm.
can get back to where you were, or you can
Mhm.
even get better than where you were.
Mhm.
Like
Oh, wow.
you could literally condition yourself, you can get back. But having said that, obviously not everyone is going to recover. It's going to be good. There's certain injuries that are
Yeah.
going to limit you for the rest of your life, unfortunately. Mine, I can bend my right knee. I can get full range of motion in my right knee, but
Yeah.
then in my left knee, I don't have
Mhm.
that range because of the metal rod that's in my leg. But
Oh, okay, okay.
it doesn't stop me to do anything I want. I can still
Yeah.
I run for 10 hours, 12 hours.
Man.
I just go. So that's just a
Yeah.
testament that you can get back with
Uh-huh.
very good discipline and good
Mhm.
physical therapy. You can get back to amazing levels.
Oh,
It's
wow.
possible.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. And that
Mm.
that reminds me, you spoke of like at CTEC, you learned the database
Yeah.
management. You know, the father of computing, modern computing, Alan Turing, he used to do very long marathons. And
Mm.
he's doing those marathons that he start thinking of all these processes. Then he was trying to figure out what the computer is. like
Yeah.
figuring out the memory model, how you can, the memory is like this long sheet of paper you can write and then erase it, or yeah. So he was trying to figure, he would take very long marathons. And
Yeah.
even in my own experience, there was a time when I used to run a lot, and I would run and pray, and that actually helped me convert from my faith, because I had
Yeah.
like, when I started the running, I would get tired and then want to give up. But then this thought would come in my head, man, if you're in the club dancing, when you start enjoying the dance, do you give up? I say no. So why is it that when I start feeling tired, I want to give up? I don't think there's a difference. It's the same
Yeah.
thing, but it's just the direction that
It's
may
just
differ.
direction.
And then some magic started happening, because after a while, when I just keep going, I will feel my body almost pumping, almost like a steam engine. Something will
Yeah.
happen, I will feel my body try, it's almost
Just
like a
wants to
steam
go.
engine pumping something else, and then I don't know what will happen. I wouldn't even
Yeah.
want to stop running anymore. Like, I just want to continue. So can you please tell us about that process? What is it that really happens?
That reminds me of this quote: "Energy begets energy."
Oh, energy
Like
begins energy.
if you're sitting
Mm-hmm.
next, if you're sad and you're sitting next to
Mm-hmm.
someone that's sad, and then they just keep talking about sad stuff, you're gonna get
Yeah.
sad and sad
Mm-hmm.
and sad and sad. But then
Mm-hmm.
if you are happy and you're sitting next to someone happy, obviously it's just gonna go off the road.
You're
So
right. That's it.
when you're running, like there is a level, like have you heard of the second wind, where it's
No,
like you
please tell me.
run, you run, and then it's like really tiring, really tiring. And then at some
Mm.
stage, something just clicks, and then you're like, oh, I have energy again, and there you go.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
that second burst of energy. But your mind is, when you're running, your mind is an unbelievable equipment. It's ridiculously powerful how far you can go. So the I ran 60 kilometers before I ran 30 kilometers. I'd
Oh
never run
wow.
I'd never run 30 kilometers, but I ran 60.
It's like Kumba
So
to Mutengene, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
And then after that, and that's it. And then
yeah, right.
after that I
Uh,
ran 100. After that I ran 100.
mm-hmm.
So it's you can literally, depending on where you are at the moment, you can wake up tomorrow, obviously after it you're going to be very sore and all that, but you can wake up
Yeah.
tomorrow and go run 50 kilometers. There is so much happening in your mind, like the conversation you're having with yourself. It's almost like when I'm running, I'm sitting next to someone and we're talking about what is happening at the moment.
Oh, I see.
Having
I
that
see. I
conversation,
see.
I'm calm, and then there's a resistance. Like you're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm in pain. I have to stop now. But you're like, but are you dying? No, let's go.
Yeah,
Let's keep going.
exactly. That's always happened to me too. Yeah.
That's it. And we kind of have the luxury that like especially if you're running in a competition and stuff like that. Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got paramedics next to the side. You're like, oh, I'm hungry. But then there's the next station 5 kilometers away where you can just pick up a banana and eat. So let's run to that 5 kilometers and get the banana and keep going and
Oh,
keep
I
going
see. I
and
see.
keep going. Okay, I'm going to stop now, but why do you really have to stop? If you stop now, what is the goal you have? And then you have that conversation with you and
Yeah.
then keep going. So with me, I have checks, and
Okay.
every say 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers, I have a check in my mind. It's like, okay, how's everything going? It's almost like you're sitting with I don't know if you ever did confession, like you're
Oh
sitting with
yeah, I
confession
did it.
and you're talking.
I never
Yes.
liked it.
So yeah, I never liked it either. I never liked it. But now,
Yeah, right.
but now I love the confession with myself, because
Okay,
having that conversation, there is
that's better.
no judgment,
Uh,
and there is no like authoritative, like, okay, you're a bad person. No, no. It's just running. Like
yeah, that
if I want
harmony, and yeah, that harmony, and I think that's, it's true that where I got the realization that clubbing and running is not different, because yes, is there is kind of stress. It could be stress in the clubbing mode, but it could
yeah,
be distress when I'm running, but it's still stress. My body is absorbing some kind of
doing
changes, and
yeah,
yeah, and the repercussions were amazing. There were times when I would run and think of a whole article. I used to blog by then, and then I'll
Yeah.
come home and I'm able to write it because I've developed everything while running. So I
Yeah.
know what I'm going to talk about. I've thought about the introduction, thought about the arguments that I'm making while I'm running. And as I'm
Yeah.
running, I'm doing all of
That's
that
it. Yeah.
very clearly. And then I
You
get
have that
home.
conversation. Yeah.
And man, I feel
And
like starting that again. I feel like starting
that's
that again.
literally it. And physiologically, like you
Mhm.
release when you run or when you exercise, you release hormones. Like it's actually happening in your body. Have you heard of endorphins?
Yes, I've heard of endorphins.
Correct.
Mhm.
So they flood your body and they feel good. Like it just makes it's this thing you can produce. Like everyone can produce it. And
Mhm.
it's just like hormones that literally they just make you feel good. And that helps you well relax. It relaxes your
Mhm.
muscles. Like there is no tension and you're calm and you can think clearly. And for
Oh
me,
wow.
that is why that is one of the reasons why I run these long
Mhm.
distances. And it's like
Mm.
it's almost like time doesn't exist. Like
Mhm.
some people would be like, "How the hell do you go out there and run for 5 hours?" I'm like, it doesn't feel like 5 hours. It feels like an hour. It feels like I've been running for an hour. Like it's just so everything is very slow. And when you're thinking, you can be thinking
Mhm.
about a problem that would usually take you 30 minutes to solve, but in the space of 10 minutes, you can hear yourself breathe, you can feel yourself hit the ground. If any negative thoughts comes into your mind, like you're gonna feel it. Like you can just feel your body just like tense, and then you're like relax, and then you just relax, and then you keep going. So yeah,
Mm.
so it's a form of healing as well, and it's also a form of
Mhm.
discovery. Um,
Okay.
and doing that helps me just be calm, like and things like that. I think it's something that it's not as much glorified when it comes to fitness as much as the physical. Fitness is a lot of the physical, like it's a lot of
Mhm.
six pack and big booty, looking good,
Mhm.
looking lean, and stuff like that. But the mental
Yeah.
side of things, or the positive, like the good feeling that fitness brings about, is something that we should glorify as well.
Oh wow, man. Like,
Yeah,
you know, this space is again it's called Topoh
yeah.
spaces.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
we,
yeah,
we we meet and talk, and
yeah.
Perez defined it. I'll never forget Perez's definition. He told me that this is like a database where thoughts that we have, we come and drop it here, and then we can
But
go. We can
yes,
empty our heads here and then go because you can come and watch it later. So
yes,
yeah.
correct.
So I'm really grateful for like the learning that I'm
Oh,
learning, and a lot of
that's
people.
amazing.
I've been chatting with a lot of people, and it's really amazing. And now that you're mentioning, what I'm beginning to feel is through sports, one gets through those dialogues that you have with yourself as you're running, one gets to really discover who you are. And that was the tenet know thyself. We like the adage actually, know thyself was at the center of Greek civilization. And even later in Europe, they had the Latin version. So, how does all of this affect your spirituality too?
Like so, I grew up. Obviously, I grew up in secular. I grew up Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and I think once I had the opportunity to live away from home and not be with my parents that are going to force me to go to church, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of made me see things in who I am in my own way. Um, and one thing I was disappointed with was
Mm-hmm.
like how rich, how much money the Catholic Church has, how ridiculously rich these people are, and how poor some of the people that go to church are. Someone in church will be earning 10,000, will be earning 10,000 or like $1,000 a month. And then they make sure that they give 110, $100 every week. By the end of the
Yeah.
week, you've given $400 into
Mm-hmm.
that basket, and things like that. But then I realized as well, like I had this thing when I was growing up, like because I was always feeling guilty that for you to be good, you have to go to church. But then I realized I was like, no, You can be good without going to church. You don't have to. You can follow all these things that the good things, obviously, of religion. You can follow it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
from one, it doesn't have to be from one religion. Jewish
Mm-hmm.
people have this thing, Jewish people have this thing they call mitzvah, where
Yeah, mitzvah, bar
you
mitzvah
do,
too.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you do something good. That's it. You don't expect
Mm-hmm.
anything. You just do something
Mm-hmm.
good. And
Yeah.
so for me, getting all these
Mm-hmm.
things, it's just kind of it's like an ensemble of all these from all these different religions. Getting what I feel like is going to serve me best and what is going to make my soul or myself feel amazing. So myself spiritually, I don't really have a name for it, but
Okay.
I feel like it's a collage of all of this, what I've
Mm-hmm.
learned so far in my life, the amazing
Mm-hmm.
people I've come through, and all my experiences, so to speak.
Wow, I see. Because I
Yeah,
saw the dreads.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's I started that. So yeah, see, I thought that being a Rasta, you've got to
Mm-hmm.
do everything that they say you have to do, and
Yeah.
I just realized again, I just realized like that's not it. That's why I started the dreads, but that's not why I'm keeping it.
Oh yeah, I
So
see what you mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, do you have
Yeah.
dreads?
Yeah, I have some funny dreads where it's
Okay. Yeah, oh,
yeah,
okay. I
so
see it in the beginning.
to me, yeah, I have so to me it's during the phase where it's self-discovery. I started reading a lot of books like Plato, um, Confucius's books, Lao Tzu's books. So I would be reading and twisting my hair. So that's all I had.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was reading and that's all I had. It was this stage in my life where I can't really explain, but I would
yeah,
spend days on books. At time, I would lose track of time and my
yeah,
mind. I will go to bed at 2 o'clock, wake up at 4, continue,
yeah,
take a rest. Like I was like a robot, man. So I had just my hair and I can't
yeah,
cut it because when I see them and touch it, it's not really structured and orderly like yours, but when I see it
yeah,
and touch it, it reminds me.
yeah.
So it's like my history. So yeah, that's how I
Ah,
keep it.
I can
Yeah,
see. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
process to that.
yes, exactly.
What
So it's
what book are you reading at the moment?
well, I read the Quran and then I still read
Yeah,
yes, and then I still read Plato,
yeah,
and yes, I read Plato, but mostly the Quran and Plato because I'm a Muslim. So
yep,
as a Muslim, we're encouraged to read the Quran because it's really beautiful in the sense that it guides me back towards my obligations as a Muslim, which is like the prayers and being peace, the peace that I need to receive from the universe
yeah,
and the efforts I need to make. So whenever I start, it's easy to slack off, even when you're when those
oh,
that are
it is,
working
it
out.
is.
Yeah, it's the same with prayer. So when I start reading it, for example, there are stories there where like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that uh, human beings who are funny. That when we need something, we come and pray in all positions. You lie down,
Yeah,
you lie, and then when they give you what you want, you go away. We don't
you
see you
go. Yeah,
again.
yeah,
So
yeah,
and then so that always makes it I is it always enforces my discipline in the sense that
okay,
when I want to forget my prayers, I remember that. And I'm like, man,
mm,
like now I will stop praying. And that's how I will start being undisciplined. Maybe I will sleep more and then start sleeping off here. And maybe tension rises at work because I slacked off somehow. I'll start praying.
yeah,
You see what I mean?
yeah.
So let me, so it's, yeah, so
So,
I, these days, yeah. And I just came from Ramadan. So it's
okay,
like,
did you grow up as a Muslim?
no, I'm actually new. I converted in
Okay,
October last year, like
last
23rd.
year.
Yeah, like
And what
23rd.
were you a Did you have a religion before?
Man, yeah, I've gone round. Like it's a whole journey. Like
Yeah,
I went to Birokol, Bishop Logan
yeah,
College.
yeah,
So that was a minor seminary. So we're
yes,
like Christians, and I think sports really helped me, like wake me up in a kind of way because as a Christian I like learned the doctrine And then when I
Hmm.
came to the States, America and the Western world, time doesn't wait for you. So
No,
you have to work, you have to be doing man, like you have to do what you have to do. You see what I mean?
that's
So
it. That's
life
it.
life starts hitting you. You start seeing that you need a constitution. So, but what is it that we can go back to that is like firm enough? It's probably our religion. But again, if you're in the university, I studied the mathematics, computer science, and philosophy.
Mm.
So all of that logic, me trying to think and break things down, and then
Yeah,
exercising. So I'll be running these long distances and praying, and I'm praying and saying like Holy Mary, Mother of God, and from the
yeah,
idea of God that I have philosophically, I feel like no, God is so big that God cannot have a mother. You see what I'm
yeah.
saying? So while I'm running, so and doing that
Ah,
over and over and over, I started feeling hurt instead by those prayers. You see,
hmm.
because yeah, like if you go read like some of the old scriptures, the original translations, they have they have the first commandment be that you shall have no image of me either above or below the heaven, no below the earth, no image whatsoever. So while I'm running and having these thoughts and saying these prayers because I want the peace, my mind is going through all what I'm seeing. I see statues in
Mm.
church, so I man, it was very painful.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I dabbled a little with yoga, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
learning how to meditate, learning how to meditate. That
Hmm.
helped me for a while, and then I
Do you
changed
still
my
meditate?
job. Yeah, I do
Okay.
once in a while, but not as
Yeah.
effectively as I used to do before. I meditate with music. So like while
Okay.
it's playing, I just let my mind just follow the waves, and I
Oh,
just
yeah.
breathe. I
True.
focus on breathing and counting.
True.
Yeah, and so yeah, through that, my mind needed something that is beautiful philosophically, something that is rational, but at the same time I can experience the supernatural. You see, so and the
Mm.
supernatural is irrational. So something that I could actually enjoy the rationality in it at the same time tapping from the irrationality in it. So and I came to Islam, and I think Islam gives me all of that because it puts me directly with God through all
Yeah.
those efforts that I'm putting, saying those five prayers, and then diving into the metaphysics with the Quran right there that I could always tap
Yeah.
into. Yeah. So
You mentioned something about the irrationality about that. Yeah.
yeah,
So I was
right.
going to
Hmm.
point on to that. Like
Hmm.
you studied mathematics and
Yes.
computer science.
Uh-huh. Yes.
That
Uh-huh.
is close to one of the most logical things or rational things we know. How do
Hmm.
you consolidate those two being uh, in a lot of things in the religion aspects are
Hmm.
things we cannot comprehend. So
Yes, right.
by
Hmm.
default, they may seem or are irrational.
Yeah,
And
right.
you being the computer scientist you are, it's like
Hmm.
A, you've got to show me how A equals to B, and there's
Yes,
a
right.
thought process. How do you
Exactly.
consolidate those two?
Yeah, so actually, through my philosophy training, especially when I studied Greek philosophy,
Yeah,
they as we I got to understand that communication has levels, right? And tools that you use like analogies and allegories. So myths, people use myths so that you should easily understand the problem. And just to jump to physics real quick, someone like Einstein, when he was investigating gravity, he used acceleration, for example, because that's what was understood at that time. So
yeah,
now in my computer science, I use philosophy, I use myths, I use all of the tools that I can use that some of them may be irrational, but just because my mind can easily wrap around them, and then I apply it in computer science. So I'll give you an example. Like the Aztecs were the people that lived in South America. The
yeah.
just like we have ancient Egyptians, you had the Aztecs. They had this idea of energy. They
Hmm.
called it teot, right? And they had an analogy that went like this: that teot is they use weaving, actually, like weaving clothes to describe teot. So they said teot is the weaver, teot is the weaving, Theod is the thing that is being weaved.
Hmm.
So that's actually trying to say that everything is energy, but they kind of conceptualize it by capturing it in the process of weaving, because the Theod is the great sower that sows all the order that we have in the universe. Theod is the same thing that is being sown. Theod is the sowing itself. So that's how
Yeah,
they understood that. So now the ancient Greeks themselves, so that's something that is like a process metaphysics. The ancient
yes,
Greeks saw things as discrete entities. You have some object, it will have its reasons for being there, it will have its functions, right? And that's what makes it what it is. And then it will have an interface for interacting with other things. So that's
yeah,
another kind of metaphysics. So now in computer science, we have things, this kind of programming, object oriented programming. I don't know if you came
hmm.
across this in your training databases where you
And
build.
even if I did, I think I've definitely forgotten about it anyways. But
Yeah, I
yeah, I
see.
might have an idea. Yeah,
Yeah. So now there's this way of programming where you look at the program as a society of objects. So each
yep,
object now has its own essence, and then it will have its functions, it have a way of it. So you see now that it's going back to Greek metaphysics. And then there's
yep.
a kind of programming now which is called functional programming, that was built by mathematicians, that they say everything is a function, even a number.
Mhm.
That the function is the embodiment or the incarnation of a process, right? So now you
Yes,
see now that that number that you see there is a process. So it's like that tail, because it's not one entity that is sitting
not
discreetly. Yeah. So I don't know if you see how like
combination.
I'm
I can
taking those
see.
things that may even look irrational, and then I bring it,
Yeah,
and it makes me I'm able to see
see that.
and able to grasp these concepts that are somehow difficult, even in the fields of language. Like when we're building programming languages, it's easier for me to grasp it, because I can think irrationally. I could make a myth that there is a God that is speaking and creating the world, and how can I mirror that inside of the computer? But then that will be some sort of an intuitionalist way of thinking. Then I could take it
Yeah,
and make a formality, because when I
yeah.
take all of those, I can now take out the discrete things and then outline them out into some kind of a
Loudoun.
proof. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I don't think I've come across,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've come across more than two people that
Mm-hmm.
have kind of um eloquently described their religion and whatever they're doing into life, or their rational and their irrational, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you start making that connection with your religion or your faith
Mm-hmm.
to science, or was
Mm-hmm.
it is it philosophy that helped you, or
Yes, I think it's
was it
philosophy.
okay?
Mhm.
Yeah,
It is philosophy. It is philosophy
yeah,
because, uh, for example, when when you start looking at the world, right,
yeah,
and you see the processes that are happening, you see the order, and then if you're a Christian, you go back and read Genesis, you hear that there was disorder or chaos, and then God created order by speaking. You start seeing a lot of power. And then
mhm,
now in my philosophy courses, where we'll be doing philosophy of mind, and then we start studying like Plato. When you do epistemology, where Plato is asking like, what is knowledge? Like when you're
yeah,
studying his epistemology, or go to the metaphysics, where he's asking like, what is knowledge? Is it what I perceive? Is that knowledge? If that's it, and if I'm looking at you with one eye, and can I see you and not see you at the same time? Because if knowledge is about perception, I'm not seeing you with this eye,
okay,
but I'm seeing you. So I'm not seeing
yes,
you, I'm
yes,
seeing you. So
see,
when you start seeing that way of perceiving the world and going deep into how they saw reality, and then uh, when I started taking courses that we're building a computer from scratch, we have just a piece of paper. And then we start thinking of the computer. You know that if you go deep down into the abstractions, you'll be dealing with quantum mechanics. And then you start
yeah,
coming up into Boolean algebra and circuitry, where you're dealing with switches, ones and zeros. How do you erect a whole society of these electrons that give you the views that we see in the computers? You see
yeah,
now that I have to start going back to language. I have to talk as a
yeah,
programmer. So
yeah,
by doing all of those, I'm beginning to see the beauty in talking and creating order out of disorder. Where did
yeah,
I first learn that? I first learned it in religion. So it makes it
Mm.
now, I'm beginning to see this creative process, what it means to create something, especially from nothing, right?
Yeah.
And then I start experiencing the beauty too in the process, because I don't need to go far away to do that. I can sit on the computer and create like a web page, beautify it as much as I want. But where did I learn that from? Or where did I first hear from in like spiritual aspects? So I want to know more. And then I start
Hmm.
seeing what I can do in the computer and what I can do. But
Hmm.
from my philosophy training, it could be that I am in a simulation, which is inside of a simulation, which is inside of a giant simulation,
Yeah.
perhaps, which is in another. You see what I mean? So
Who
I
knows?
have to
Yeah.
start mixing. Yeah, so I have to start mixing all of those things, and then knowing too that before I didn't know some of the things that I know now, it means that
Hmm.
there is a lot that I don't know. If I look at a
Yeah.
cat, I can't see what the cat sees. So which means I know nothing. So
Yeah.
there's some power that probably knows us. So I only have to be humble. If I really want to enjoy my life, I have to pray to
Yeah.
that bigger thing that teach me, show me these things. You see, so that's how
Yeah.
I started mixing all of these things. Yeah.
And which and that's like it's something that you find that a lot of the times there is this disconnect between
Mhm.
religion or faith
Yeah.
to science or reality.
Mhm.
So a lot of the times, even in political circles, when one person, like you see, for example, let me just use America for example, when they go,
Yeah.
or um,
Mm.
ma- there's this whole abortion thing that's such a big thing in America, where one person say God, you can't kill God, and then this other person is saying, oh, my body is my thing for all of this stuff. So what do you think the biggest problem is when it comes to that people don't or find it challenging to bring those two together, those two thoughts together and make it work? Because it's universally, it's something that exists everywhere. Faith, religion exists everywhere. And
Yeah.
obviously, you have
Mm.
science to match those two things. And
Yeah.
because, for example, I use a lot of the things to come to those decisions. Like there are topics that a religion person, someone that's religious, like very religious, or believes
Mm.
in something, would tell you that
Mm.
this other person is wrong. This other person is wrong. But then those things don't really match a lot of the things that they say. And then where or how can we find that common ground to
Yeah.
make these
I see.
topics work?
Yeah. So like if the for the Catholic Church, the popes often write some letters called encyclicals.
Yeah,
The one that many have affected us, but the one I could really talk about is I think it's one called, is it Rerum Novarum? I think so. I may have to Google it later, but that's the
yeah,
encyclical that caused people to have minimum wages. When the lords in England, they used to punish people, slavery, they would not even pay them, but they had families to take care of. So the Pope wrote that letter to explain, and it started this whole aspect of human dignity. This whole it brought human dignity to the front to tell people that people as human beings have respect that is inherent, that they
yeah.
start with just because they're human. So if you're using the time, give them something, and that's how minimum wage came up. So
Mhm.
John Paul II wrote this letter, another encyclical called Fides et Ratio, which
Mhm.
means faith and reason. And he was trying to in that, let me say, he was trying in that letter. He even goes back to Socrates and talking about like human beings, that we always want to connect back to beauty, and this beauty could be peace, it could be anything, but it could be the peace we feel when we see a beautiful color or some beautiful fabric,
Yeah,
right? So we always want to go back to that beauty. Some people will call it the main source, God. Some people have their own names, but every culture they have that. And
um,
even if you don't call it religion, or even if you call something religion, and then you sit and start wondering who you are, what you're doing, science will get in. So that's
yeah.
why he said faith is a ratio. Faith and reason always
And
go
then
together. And
go
he said
together.
the 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 religious schools should also learn from the sciences in the sense that uh, the scientific method is an exhibition of faith, right? Because the
Yeah.
sciences, when he follows the scientific method, it's not based on how he feels. It's not, if I have a hypothesis and I've designed an experiment, if I was expecting that the color that I'll have from this experiment on an entity is supposed to be black, that's from the most objective point of view. It comes out blue. I don't force it to make it black.
To make it black. Okay.
Yes. Or if
Yeah.
I was just, yeah, if it
Mm,
comes out blue, I don't force it to make it black. I
mm,
trust that the system.
mm,
So in that letter, he's trying to, you see, he's trying to marry faith and reason, trying to tell
yeah.
the faithful people that even when you're doing science, there is a source that all this beauty comes from, that you have to apply your faith. And he's trying to tell the faithful too that even when you're applying, implementing your faith, look at how the scientists apply faith to their method. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think that today, even when we want to solve these problems, we should look at history, right?
Hmm.
And see what has happened. You see that religion has always been this thing that has either brought progress or how do I call it, underdevelopment, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's about implementation. If I talk about Eru, there are two types: the
Mm,
recipe, which I can't
mm,
touch, right? And then the concrete thing, which is the actual Eru, which is the implementation of the recipe. So if you
yeah.
take that recipe and implement it, and you cook Eru that is very nice, I'll praise it. Another person can take that recipe and cook Eru that is not nice. Will I
Yeah.
blame Eru the recipe or blame that implementation?
So with
You
the
see what I mean? Will
implementation.
I blame the
Yes.
you see? Yeah, so you see
Yeah.
that that's also some sort of scientific way of looking at things. You see?
Mm,
So now I think as a people, if we are to move forward, we should have faith in something bigger than us. And then we should
mm,
also use science, the tools that science have given us to look at the data that we have in front of us, but to know that since science is a tool, and in any formal system you cannot use that system to prove itself.
mm.
You see what I mean? Like you cannot use the system within the system to prove
Within the
itself.
system.
There is something
Yeah.
that is bigger. So if we're using science, we should know science is small, so there is something bigger out there, so
Bigger.
that respect has to be done. But even
Yeah.
those who are religious, they should also have accommodation for science and to use this method. So
Yeah.
it's a marriage of both of them. So
Mm.
that's
So
what I
it's
think.
like they work together in the set of
Yes,
thing.
yes, they work together. I don't think you can separate it. If you can,
No.
because look at the time we're using today, the Julian calendar. That's
Mm.
developed. Most of the calendars, our understanding of time come from religious circles.
Mm.
Even our understanding of infinity, trigonometry, most of those things, numbers, even rational numbers, they
Yeah.
come from sects, religious circles.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
that's amazing. With all these, like, when are you gonna be going back to Cameroon and becoming president?
I don't think I can be a president, man.
Ah,
I don't
nah,
think I can be a president. I don't think I would
uh,
love to be a president. I don't think I would love to
no,
be a
you wouldn't.
president. Yeah,
But
I
a
mean,
teacher.
like, well, you and I, that's what we're doing right here. We're in a
Yeah.
space where we're contributing back. Those who can listen, and from this, we'll see how it goes, right? And
Mm,
it's like, from my experiences, we've been able to look at the experiences. You had the accident, and you learned from it. It transformed you, right? You have the
yeah.
transmutation, kind of alchemical transmutation, that you took all of the distress that you could have and transmute it in some positivity that you're like implementing. So perhaps I've had such too. And I like to work on those. And if I meet people that are receptive, be it through dialogue, I try in as much as I can try to disseminate them information.
That's brilliant. I think it's a very positive
Mhm.
thing, which more of us need to keep doing it because I think it's a big challenge. When I was
Mhm.
growing up, I don't know, maybe it was because there wasn't the internet wasn't as big as it is right now. but I just
Mm-hmm.
felt like there was a very big disconnect between people that had left Cameroon and had all this knowledge, and then
Mm-hmm.
could not even could not even pass it back. Because
Yeah.
I went back to. Have you been back yet? How long have you been out for?
7 years.
7 years. Yeah. So I was
Mm-hmm.
back in February in Cameroon,
Okay. Okay.
and then and everywhere I was going, I was either seeing potential or opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And you see people that they make something out of nothing, and it's just like wow, like
Close your mind.
like it's amazing how you see that in a lot of places, and then in a lot of aspects as well, you see a lot of
Mm-hmm.
opportunities and opportunities to improve these, opportunity
Yeah.
to improve that. So um but my goal is definitely, I've given myself I think 6 years, and I'm back over there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was going to open up the same center similar to what I have here over there.
Okay. Okay.
um, and when I went there, I had this little. I went to work with Bambutus the Buddha,
Mm-hmm.
and it just gave me an insight on how they do things at the soccer level over there. Like the first division over there, like the
Yeah.
methods they use, they
Mm-hmm.
like they can just change little things to get this amount of like bigger results. So for me, I think that disconnect was something I noticed when I was growing up. And then now I notice it's like a lot of people that are there. We realize how much knowledge we can just be passing on and helping, assisting, connecting with
Yeah.
different people and stuff like that. Did you find that when you got overseas?
Uh, yeah. Well, actually, I found out a lot about us from my studies again because
Yeah.
like I took some courses in like post colonialism, courses in
Hmm.
contemporary world philosophy. So I got to
Hmm.
understand the potential that we have from a kind of philosophical point, and you know that from philosophical point is very abstract that you can start seeing concretizations.
Yeah.
So uh, like I learned about my tribe. For example, there is a set of people in Cuba called the
Yep.
Abaquas. Yeah, and the Abaquas, they are currently there in Cuba. They speak the same dialect as my people, Oroco people,
Yeah.
and there are also some of them in Calabar, Cross River
Yeah.
State, and
Yeah.
then there's also I came across the Ekpe Society. The Ekpe
Yeah.
society that exists is like a secret society that exists in a lot of cultures. Like I hear it exists again in the Calabar people in Nigeria, the
Yeah.
Oroko people, the uh, what is it, the Bangwa people to have some sort of
Yeah.
Ekpe. Yeah. So by learning about those, it started taking me back to the roots, and then I was start thinking of the beauty that we see in our traditional dances, the beauty that we
Mm.
see in our traditional dishes. You
Yeah.
see that all those tribes are kind of small civilizations. You see
Yeah.
what I mean? So it also pumps me to want to go back to kind of show the value that we have, because it's when you're
Mm.
out that you actually see that. And
Yeah.
it's yeah, and this the simplest example is music. When I was in Cameroon, I didn't like Makosa and things like that. But when I got here, I love it now.
You love it, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And
So
then
so
you
I
miss it.
also
You listen
yeah.
to it, yeah.
Yes, I miss it. And when I listen to it, I feel it. As opposed to yeah, so yeah, so I would also definitely want to go back and especially when I because if I'm here, all the energies around me if I haven't been back to Cameroon is because of there's still probably things I have to do here, but
Yeah.
I would love to have a fan base here, have a fan base back in Cameroon, and then especially with the way the world is evolving technologically, I would really like to participate to be a bridge between like this the
Between
US
those
or the
two.
Western world and back. Yeah, I'm back home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if there was anything you were gonna, any big thing or anything you know that will help any of us, what will it be?
Mhm. I
One
think
tip,
one thing you mean technology.
anything. Any
Yeah,
little piece of advice that you can, that you know that if something someone implements it right now, it's gonna assist them in whatever, in anything in your life, anything.
that's a tough one. Let me see. Mm. I'm thinking long term,
Yes.
and yeah, and I've come across this technology. And personal, we're talking about the blockchains and the cryptocurrencies,
Is that what was the most popular
like
one?
bitcoins, yeah,
Yes,
bitcoins,
yes,
and
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I want to just
it's
write it down so I can listen.
yes. So
Okay.
it's so technologically. Do you want me to go deep into it, like technology, or just
Go for
summarize?
it. Go for it.
Okay, so I mean, like, we as humans were social beings, and part of being
Yeah.
social is the core of being social is about exchange, be it respect or other value. And that's why philosophically we have things like the social contract theory, where we
Hmm.
exchange peace. I wouldn't just come and slap you so long as you wouldn't just come and slap me. So this
Yeah.
is that social contract theory.
Yeah.
Peace can reign, right? So now in such an economy, you would always want to exchange value, and things like money, ideas like money will emerge and people can do trade. And then, but one of the most important aspects is trust, right? Where if I'm giving you this value, it should have the value that we think it has,
Think it is.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. And also, there is a way to actually give something more value by saving it.
Yeah.
And and that's why you save your dollar today is because you know that tomorrow, even though it's
It's
still
gonna
one
be
dollar, but it's worth more to you.
more.
So, and when we now look at all the aspects of our civilization, like politics, religion, all of those, uh, and our evolution as human beings, we see that many times in history people save their money thinking that it will have more value, but then those handling the money, it could be governments, banks, whatever, they print more money and then your money loses value. So inflation
Yeah.
and things like that.
All that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So, and when you start looking at that evolution, it's easy for us to ignore such. Like,
Mhm.
like a typical example is in Cameroon. You would hear that a bottle of beer is like 400 francs. Let's say 400
Yeah.
francs. The next day you come and hear it's 500 francs,
Yeah.
right? Which means that 400 francs that you had yesterday and saved it for that value is become less. You have to
Less.
add 200 more to it to
Yeah.
get. So most Cameroonians, if you notice, they'll be like, well, they'll just look for 200 francs and add it. And the next time they'll take the bottle. And then
Yeah.
later they will have like 102 and take two bottles. And that's it. They've already accepted that. Right. And
Yeah.
that happens in a lot of places. So inflation comes and sweeps us up. So you see that we're losing a lot of human rights, right? And development, all of those things. But you have to
All
be
of those things.
keen. You have to be very keen to see those things. So
Yeah.
now, which means that if money is in the hands of some institution, that trust that we have, because like I said, the core thing is trust. That trust that we
Trust.
have for taking this value and saving it and using it later is no more there. So
Yeah.
now history shows us Greece, Venezuela, even in Cameroon and the other countries, Spain, they've gone bankrupt over and over, and people have lost their money. Banks have
Mhm.
closed, even in Cameroon, banks have closed, people have lost their money. So
Mhm.
now, what is it? How is it that, how can we have a system where value remains value
Yeah.
or value remains valuable? So that's the
Mhm.
core question, where the trust that is in it is maintained, where judgment can be and things can be predictable instead of being in a
Yeah.
world where predictability is lost.
It's lost. Yeah.
See what I mean?
And how does Bitcoin solve that problem?
Yes, great. So the cryptocurrencies and the bitcoins now answer this question. So cryptocurrencies from, so you'd have, it's a merge of like two main technologies. One is blockchains and the other one is cryptography. So by
Okay.
cryptography, we are trying to encode things. You're trying to protect things in a way that uh, thieves or outside influence cannot affect it. So if I have value, I can embalm
Yeah.
and encode that value in a way that is there. So you see that trust can go up a little bit because I can
Yeah.
trust that is there. And just to dive a little bit into the technology, it uses, so by, I don't know if in Sacred Heart or in other schools you went, you used to you exchange little letters with little girls and stuff. You
Oh
write a
yeah. So
letter where,
Sacred, we used to do it
yeah,
with Our Lady of Lords.
yes, you write a
So we
letter
had
where
a we had a
A,
school
yeah,
feast. We
uh-huh,
had school feast where Our
mm-hmm,
Lady of Lords girls will come to our school,
mm-hmm,
and then we only had, I think it's only lower
mm-hmm.
seed and upper seed that went to their school for their own school
Oh,
fees. So we had that,
okay, I
and
see.
then you write letters to each other, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
remember that.
Oh wow, I see. So you have guys that would probably exchange letters where A means C, C means F, and then D means W. So you write a letter, if the principal sees it, he wouldn't understand,
Yes,
right?
true.
The other person has some sort of a key
You
that
have the
when he sees
coding.
A, the code, yeah, he knows how to decode that. When he sees A, he knows his C. He sees C, he knows his F, so he can read or she can read the letter. So
Yeah.
now, that's like cryptography in the very simplest terms, but there are more tools that
Mm.
are used to like encode things like that. So all the information that you exchange in that world is encrypted in that form. So just those
Yeah.
participating in the network will really know what
You
is going
understand.
on. So at
True.
that fundamental level, the things that are exchanged in that such a system are
Hmm.
encrypted. You see. So now the next aspect of it is decentralization, right? From what we
Yeah.
talked about, you see that there's central organizations like the central bank, that they're the ones that decide what is going on. So so that creates many problems. The two main problems would be what they call the honeypot problem, because if you have a
Yeah.
central location, all the thieves can go and attack it. And if they lose it, that's how the people that are dealing in it have lost it. So, but just like how the brain
Yeah.
is a network of cells, right?
Yeah.
Right? So imagine now a network where there is no central admin or controller. Everyone is a controller.
Yeah.
So just like a network of cells in the brain.
Just
So
playing the
now
roles.
in the
Yes.
in the cryptocurrency networks and the blockchains that sit on blockchains, um, everyone participating on that network has
Yeah.
a record of what is going on, and they can
Hmm.
exchange value with others who also have records of what is going on. So if you have to hack it, for example, I'll need to jump into your phone, of which is
Hmm.
encrypted in the first place, hack it, finish, go jump into the next person's phone, hack
Yeah.
it, change. So it will take you millions of years. When you want
Yeah.
to like change so you see that security is kind of
Security is
primitive.
true.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
security is kind of primitive in the system. So now, uh, so this cryptocurrency system, you use cryptography to secure the
Yeah.
system, and then you use decentralization to make everyone to be a peer. That's what they call
Yeah.
peer-to-peer networks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so Bitcoin now is an application built on top of this kind of a system that we've just painted, and it's
Yeah.
currency. That's just one. So that's
Yeah.
currency. Yeah. So any system that has to deal, most systems that deal with trust, you can put on such a system like votes, because if
Yeah.
you and the way it works, just to dive into that briefly, is that it's like Twitter or text messages. I can send you a text like, "Hey, how
Yeah.
you doing?" But in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space, that's money that I could be sending to you. It goes
Yeah.
directly to you. It
Directly
doesn't
to
go
you.
to another person. So if
Yeah.
you look at the current banking systems, they have all these tunnels for moving money. You send money
Yeah.
between banks, it takes 3 days, it takes 5 days.
Yeah.
With such a system, it goes directly to you. But the whole network or a couple of people have to confirm that is valid to make sure that
Yes.
you are receiving money that I actually have. So all of those are baked into the network, you
Yes.
see. So it enforces trust fundamentally, right?
Yeah.
And then other applications that deal with trust, like voting. Let's say if you want to vote in a way that I want to vote for you, but I should not be able to change it later, or outside influence, you can build on such a system. So that's why I
Yeah.
think as a nation and as a continent, that's technology that if we look at it, is to give us an infrastructure where we could build a lot of applications that need trust. And from
Yeah.
that trust, you see that all what we are as humans will be reflected in terms of dignity, in terms of human rights, which include
Mhm.
education, participation in politics, be it in religion, because we'll have a system where ideally, like the security and trust can germinate from.
Do we have the structure in, say, Cameroon for that kind of system?
No, no, but the thing is that these systems nowadays there is something called open source,
Hmm.
where people build software and it's just like a recipe, almost like a recipe. The recipe for jollof rice is not patented, right? You
Yes,
could, if
yes,
somebody writes it
yes.
somewhere, I could go look at it and use it.
And use
So
it.
that happens to in code in terms that people write software and put it there as a public
For
entity.
reuse.
Yeah, so you
Yes.
can you can get a copy. They call it forking, so you can fork it, get a copy, modify it to fit your needs, and then but
And then
your only obligation is that those modifications put it out so other people can use it since you
to
took
use it.
someone else's. Yeah, so now things like Bitcoin is open source. Bitcoin is open
Okay.
source. There are many other cryptocurrencies and networks and applications that are out there that the, you who wants to use it, you can get it and then start
Yeah.
tweaking it to your needs. So, but the infrastructure is there already. So you just have to
Yeah.
come and build your own
Build it from
experience on
there.
top of it. Yeah.
Why is it not caught up out yet? Why is cryptocurrency
Be-
not caught up yet?
First of all, even where it's trying to catch up, it's not easy because it's a
Yeah.
revolution. It's the
Okay.
same thing that happened with telephone against the internet, horses
Yeah.
against cars, because first people don't understand it. So, and then
Yeah.
they only see the weaknesses instead of seeing the weaknesses as challenges and problems to fix. Just like you said, that instead of seeing that negativity, you went to Cameroon, you saw either potential or an opportunity. So instead of people to see problems as opportunity or like some potential, they
Yeah.
start trying to push it away. So like see horses, when cars were made, people said, oh, for a horse it only eats grass. Cars, you
Yeah.
need gasoline or
Petrol.
whatever it is that you
Mm.
need, petrol, and then the roads need to be paved. Couple of hundreds of years later, a couple of years, the horses now walk better on the roads that were made for cars. And then the
Yeah.
cars are there. And the same with the internet and phone lines. Phone lines were
Mm.
connected originally. The internet people were begging phone lines that please let's pass our data through your lines. They were refusing.
Mm.
Now what is happening? Phone lines are actually on the internet. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? So
Yes.
it's yeah. So that's the almost the same stage that these cryptocurrencies are on. The
Mm.
It's like 10 years old and it's trying to disrupt the financial technology world, fintech.
Yeah.
So those that have invested millions or billions of dollars will not just give up easily. So
Yes.
there's a lot of fighting politically, and
Yeah.
then even in terms of government, it's such a network is borderless. If you go to Cameroon
Okay.
and you're on the Bitcoin network, I'm on the Bitcoin network, I can send you money. If all my, I can send you all my money. If I have like $1 billion, I can send it to you. Nobody will be there to
How do
stop
I
us.
how do I withdraw the Bitcoin money?
Okay,
How, to
so now,
physical?
yes, since it's a network, it's a community, exchange is at the core of it. Either
Mhm.
you can, like if I send you money, you want to buy bananas, if the trader accepts Bitcoin, you can just transfer them what is needed. The network will
Yeah.
process it in the next few minutes. And or if you meet somebody, you can sell them the Bitcoin. If like now, I think one Bitcoin is like $9,000. Oh, my phone is
One $9,000.
yeah, I think nine thousand
So
dollars. Well, $9,200. It keeps going up and down. So
so
you
if you
meet
send
somebody.
someone one Bitcoin and
Mhm.
they can have $9,000
Yes, if
cash.
they yes,
Oh
like
wow.
if you're using an app, like there's an app
Yeah.
called Coinbase. Uh,
Coinbase.
yeah, Coinbase. It has an app too. Let me share my screen.
Mm.
Mhm. So this is Coinbase. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, so with Coinbase is both an exchange and it's a place. So these are the coins.
Mm.
So there are several coins. Like I said, it's
So
like an open
okay, so it's
network,
like different types of currencies.
different types of currencies. You can see
Oh,
it this way. The
yeah.
this cryptocurrency, the networks is what some people call it the internet of money. We have had
Okay.
the internet where we have applications like Facebook, YouTube, Amazon, Zoom, all
Hmm.
of those. They are centralized. There's a central server where things are stored. Then you make requests, you go get it. This for this money is called like the internet of money, where
Yeah.
money is as an application. So
Hmm.
you see, Bitcoin is one application, the whole network, everything, but it's
Mm.
also money, it's also value. It's a
It's
different
also
kind of
value, yeah.
internet. Yeah. So now, because of the interactions of the nodes of participants in the network, value goes up and down. And now
Okay.
it's volatile, but they're trying to, with time, as time goes on, it will gain value and it will be stable. And but
Yeah.
then it creates a lot of problems in the sense that you can't control it. It's borderless. So long as
Yeah.
people are connected. Now, if you leave Australia and go to Cameroon and you swipe your card, they'll probably block it, thinking that someone has stolen it. So you see that
Correct.
your
True.
bank is watching you. Your bank is watching
Yes.
you, following you. If you save your money one day, you want to go withdraw all of it, they'll tell you, no, we can't give you all of it. And you see, it's strange how you give your money and then they control you on top
I
of your
can't
money.
control it. True. Yeah.
Yeah. So with such systems, they can't. So it's
So
an
if you have physical money, like if I have $10,000 with me, which is cash,
yes.
how
Mm-hmm.
how do I get it into Bitcoin?
Yeah. So for Coinbase in particular, now to avoid money laundering, you can upload your ID so they'll verify you. Then you hook up your bank account, right?
Okay.
And then you can transfer the $10,000 here free. You wouldn't pay any
Yeah.
transfer fees, and then you can buy the
Okay.
Bitcoin directly. So, and it's also a store of value. People store value
Yeah.
in terms of gold, electronics. This is also a store of value, but it's risky
Mm.
because it's very volatile.
Yeah.
Sometimes, let me see if we can see the graph. So you see, this is the price if we go to all all of it. So there was a time when it was like just 120 something
200.
dollars.
Yeah.
This is like in 2019. Oh, what year is this? 2014, right? And
Mm.
then there was a time when one Bitcoin was like nineteen
16.
thousand
Oh, 19.
dollars.
Oh, wow.
19,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
When
in
was that?
December. That's 2017.
Mm.
So you see that there was a time when it so this made people instant billionaires because there are times when it was, let's say, a few cents even before this.
Yeah.
There are times when it had no value, but as people started
Yeah.
participating, the people who had thousands of this thing, the people who had
Yeah.
millions of bitcoins, and then one became 20,000 or $19,000. So it's one of those things where it could go up or down. It's kind of risky, but
Yeah.
it's also a store of value because if you buy
So
one, mhm,
like if I put that 10,000 now, so if I put in $10,000 cash, does that mean
yeah.
that the value of that 10,000 automatically drops because that 10,000 will become 9,000?
So if you buy it, you buy it at this price. So if you don't pay
Okay.
any extra charges from the 10,000, you have the exact
Yeah.
10,000. And
Yeah.
while you're buying, I'm sure this platform, since it's an exchange platform, they'll probably get some charges for the transaction, maybe a couple of the percentage of it, and you probably end up paying like, let's say, 9,200 or 9,300, right? So
Yeah.
you'll be left with 700 francs in that year from that money, and the rest will be in this one if it goes up. And
Yeah.
you can trade on this platform too, in the sense that if it goes to like 20,000 and you feel like you
Yeah.
will break even, you buy it. Or if it starts dropping and you're afraid and you panic, you can sell it. so
You
so
can sell it.
it's yeah, so economics also plays into it. And there are cheaper coins. This is a coin like Ethereum. So
Yeah.
this is his worth. And these are other coins.
Okay.
Some of them are very low for now, but they
Mm-hmm.
grow as more people are adopting it. The value is going. The more people say,
Mm.
okay, I will be buying my coffee, I'll be paying my bills, I'll be receiving my salary in this, the value
Yeah.
starts going up. Yeah.
So is the only point where you can withdraw the money? Is it only from banks, or you can also withdraw? Is there any physical place where you can go withdraw your
Not
your
exactly. Not exactly. There in some countries there are,
okay.
but what is happening is once you
Yeah.
have this, like I said, it's also the internet. It's a kind of internet, right? So what happens is
Yeah.
when you have Bitcoin, it's saved in an application called a wallet. So the wallet is equivalent to your web
Yes.
browser. Today, when you want to visit
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, you use a browser, right? So for these currencies, you use a wallet. The wallet is like the browser that you
Mm-hmm.
participate in the network. So it's a wallet. Actually, it saves that value. So I have another wallet, and our wallets have addresses. So we can decide that, okay, you send me 1 Bitcoin, and I'll give you 9,177. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So I can give you the cash, and then you transfer the
Yeah.
money to my wallet. So
Into,
that's if
oh,
you don't
okay.
want to
Okay.
come online,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
If you don't want to come online to do, you can do X
You can do it
trading.
that way. Okay.
Yes, and yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So
That's
yeah,
crazy. Do you
so
have Bitcoin?
yes, I do. So
Okay.
yeah, I do, and I have a couple of this. A couple of this. I love this one, this Ethereum, because not to go into detail, they are changing their model into
Okay.
of operation into something called a proof of stake, because what happens is once you transfer this money, people have to do calculations, computations to validate them. But there is a
Okay.
way now, there's some way that they want to keep some reserve, so that when you send the money, they can use money in that reserve and pay people, and then later validate the transaction so that it goes
Okay.
faster.
So it can be quicker.
So
Yes. Okay. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. So, but now it's a community thing. So they say that people should stake in their Ethereum. So the minimum staking is 32 of them. Now one is
Okay.
at 227.
Yeah.
So it's something that once they start doing that, the coin is actually low now because they have a problem. A lot of people are using it, are building games on this platform. Some want to
Ah.
use it to pay their bills. So there's so many people that want to use it, but it cannot support it. So that's why they want to
Mm.
move to that proof of stake, so it becomes faster. So the price is gonna go up. So which means
Yeah.
that if you stake like the 32 of them, you're spending like $6,000 or something,
Yeah.
or 5,000 something dollars, $506,000. And after 10 years, you probably at this price, you probably have like $70,000 in returns if you like
Okay.
say stake it there. Yeah. So it's really
Yeah.
interesting. This is the economic aspect of it. But in terms of development, I think it's a revolution that it's a technology that if one invests in it, and it can bring about a lot of transparency and a lot of progress in terms of record keeping.
Yeah, man. It's like I think this is probably the first time I've kind of got that a better explanation about it. I think the separating the
Hmm.
cryptocurrency thing, because I used to think Bitcoin was the technology. I never used to think that, no, no, it's a currency, but the technology
Yes.
is
Hmm.
cryptocurrency. Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. But Bitcoin itself there are two Bitcoins, right?
okay.
One with a capital B, which is a
Yeah.
network, and then one with
Okay.
a small b, which is the coin. So don't mind as it's
Yeah.
spelled here. Don't mind as it's spelled here. Actually,
Over there. Yeah.
because
That's the capital B
because
one.
yes. So because
Okay.
when you get the Bitcoin wallet, what it gives you that browser to connect to the Bitcoin network. So you have the Bitcoin network,
Mm,
which is a capital
yes.
B, and on that network you can exchange Bitcoins, which is a small b. You see
Okay.
what I mean?
Okay.
So if
Yes.
you look at it again, you see that yes, the technology is cryptocurrencies, and the bitcoins are kind of nano. Do I say nanotechnology or not nanotechnology? It's a kind of micro technology built on that
Yes.
macrocosm of the cryptocurrencies.
Mm,
So yeah, there's that.
beautiful.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
So there are many of these coins. Acorn actually is creating his own.
It's
Acorn is creating, yeah. So
okay.
Acorn the artist. So if
Oh,
you
Acorn.
check, yeah, Akon. Yeah, you see
Oh,
one Africa,
wow.
one coin. Yeah, so he actually
Mm,
has a vision where, like, because And one of the reasons why I'm saying this is something that can easily be adopted, because a lot of people are underbanked, but
Mm-hmm.
smartphones are getting popular and the internet is being deployed easily to people.
Mm-hmm.
So with a wallet, you can transact. People could have access to banking services, and these wallets are very
Mm-hmm.
powerful, right? So you could be a cocoa farmer in Econo City, and there is someone buying in China, and with these cryptocurrencies, a lot of banking applications can be built which are secured in a way that you could get loans, you could get payments. Someone from China can pay you, receive it within minutes, and then you do what
Within
you do.
minutes,
Your
yeah.
logistics can be handled, and stuff like that. So Akon, this is a very he has this is the these are the various pieces of his vision, where
Yeah.
you have this token will be the coin. So he wants to create a whole ecosystem where people can come and do jobs, sell, buy, sell, exchange, but the money they'll be using is this A coin, which is this
Yeah.
token. And then there'll be a marketplace where people can exchange things, build applications, receive payment,
Yeah.
because payment is one of the problems we have now in Africa. And
Yeah.
then this one too, they could also swap currencies, just like how you can exchange euros for dollars. So you could
Yeah.
exchange different cryptocurrencies here. And then this one is for those who are starting businesses,
Okay.
and like to accelerate, or like to help those that have ideas get it developed. And then the final one is this Econ City, where he's trying to build a city. It's actually in Senegal, a smart city, where you have
Yeah.
hospitals, everything, but they will be
What is it
using
called?
this system. Akon City.
Is it already in Senegal?
Yes, they are developing it. I think it's a couple of
Oh
billion, if
wow.
not 1 billion. Yeah, they're developing it. So this is the first
Akon
place
City.
that this currency will be rolled out to, so you can go experience it. And but it's something that it gives a lot of freedom,
Wow.
and people can achieve their own perfection with such technologies.
That sounds. Is he the only African doing something like this?
No, there are some this big he is, but there are some
Yeah.
Nigerians and I think some in Ghana that they are trying to build their own coins, but they're still small. They're
Okay.
still small, not as big. This is really big, man. This is like
Yeah.
something. Yeah, this is really big. Like, I mean,
Oh.
if you look at the span of this project,
Yeah.
it's this is a whole economy.
It
If you
is.
look at the
It is.
details of all of this is a whole
Of all the
economy right
things.
here. Yeah.
And what do you think is going to be successful?
Um, as a technologist, I'm not pessimistic about such.
Yes.
There is a roadmap. Yeah, there's a
Yes.
roadmap here, and they have been
Okay. Yeah.
implementing the
Yeah.
roadmap. So it's not different from Facebook going from conception to it being deployed. So it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I can only see, and the beautiful thing about technology is that people following up, even if it fails, there's someone that will pick up from where it ended and
And
then
then
continue.
yeah,
Yeah,
keep
right.
yes.
Yeah. So technology is like that. It often like
Mm.
gives birth. It's like what you said, energy begets energy. So technology
That's
is
it.
really like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's brilliant, man. Look, man.
Yeah.
How long we've been talking for?
Let me
Almost two
see.
hours,
Yeah, that's the
and
thing on this space. Like,
almost 2 hours. The time just like gets crazy
yeah,
and stuff
right.
like that.
Yeah.
I've just got this crazy. Oh my god.
Hmm.
Um, because I've got my alarm ringing for work already. Sorry.
Oh, okay,
Um,
yeah. So we can
I've
conclude.
got
This is the first episode.
yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first episode amongst couple that we can count now. For the
Yeah,
next
man.
time, I would really want us to talk, especially about women's health and sports. So then we can create a whole event where we'll publicize it, so that women. It'll probably be a Saturday, so that
Yes.
a lot of people will be free and we can have
To
a
join in.
broader audience. Yeah, I would
Okay.
organize a watch party later for this one, so people can join in and comment.
Awesome, man. It was really, really good talking to you and learning
Yeah,
about what you do as well. I mean, and definitely got some lesson on Bitcoin. I'm gonna look more into it.
yeah. Me too. I got a lot about fitness, health, like
Awesome, man.
everything that comes, discipline, character development, business development, dedication. Like, man, if I have to show you my notes, like I had
Oh,
like
that's
all
amazing.
this that
That's
I was
amazing.
writing
Good,
while we're
good,
chatting.
good, good.
Yeah, man. So yeah,
Good,
so
good. That's a
thanks.
good thing.
So yeah, so before we round up, do you have like anything to say to put out there for this listening?
Listen, man, I know that with all the crazy things happening, you can find yourself sometimes in positions where you feel like nothing can be done, and which sometimes it feels that way. But if there's anything I've learned so far, it's like within yourself, there's another world within yourself. Like once you realize that and put in the effort to go within, it's going to have a ripple effect and you will definitely reap some amazing benefit. And making change, you don't you don't run 100 meters without running 1 meter. Like all you have to do to start with is getting up, making your bed, and that's it. From then you build on, build on, build on. And that note, that's exactly what I'm going to say. Is just build on what you have from where you are, and then go from there.
Yeah, thank you
That's
very
it.
much, brother.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thanks,
Brian.
thank you very very much. Yeah, remain
And we'll
blessed. Have a
organize
good
it
day.
again. Thank you, brother.
Yes, yes,
Have a good
yeah.
night.
Thanks. You too. Have a good
Bye.
day. Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Mhm.